Welcome back to episode 5 of That Dynasty podcast. I am your host with the most, Matthew, and joining me is the dashingly handsome but bashful Isiah. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Just chilling. Just watched Judge hit number 62, and I'm drinking a little blueberry smoothie, trying to get Papa healthy. So just booing, man.
Love it. Well, I'm doing pretty good as well. I don't remember if I told you or not, but I'm actually going to the final Red Sox game of the season tomorrow, and going to be going down with some people for work. And we're going to be going in before the game, and they're going to have a big buffet in one of the pavilions and like an open bar and stuff like that. So it should be pretty fun. And
Are they paying you to go, or are you paying to go? Because I figured they're so bad, they might just pay you to go.
they are, well, someone's paying me to go. I'm not going on my own dime, that's for sure. But I'm excited to go. Hopefully get some sort of a tour experience, and I'm hoping that the game doesn't get rained out because it's going to be like 50 degrees and raining all day. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, I'm just excited for this week 5 coming up here and to talk about all that happened here in week 4. As always, guys, we are super excited to look, of course, ahead at week 5 coming up. But before we get into everything, just want to make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on Twitter and on TikTok at That Dynasty Pod. We also have full videos of every episode that are going to be up on our YouTube channel, or if you prefer to listen on the go, we are available on all your big podcasting platforms as well. We have links for all of those platforms in the description and in the show notes. Isiah, why don't you talk us through what this week's going to look like?
Yeah, man. So this week we got a few league updates. Matt's going to walk us through. We're going to do our infamous pops and flops. We got a couple trades to break down that include actually both Matthew and I, not together, separate, but both of us. And then we're going to go over last week's matchups, see how much worse Matthew's predictions are, and then we'll go over predictions for this week. And then, MVP segments. And then we're going to try a new segment out. We're taking us home. Matt takes us home with his power rankings. So yeah, let's get into the updates.
Cool. So we had a couple of league updates that went on when it comes to name changes. So Darius has changed his name from Trash Bench Assassins to Modern Welfare 3. Trevor went from Clown Grades and Trades back to his original SKOL Squad. Dan has changed his name from Tommy Lee's Raging Dongers to TUA'S Kung Fu Grip, which still lives ingrained in my memory right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one is least politically correct of those two.
I personally miss saying Tommy Lee's Raging Dongers, but definitely is a mouthful. So we'll see how this next one fits a little bit easier. That brings us right into our ads and drops of notice. So we actually had a couple of ads and drops of notice this week. Dan, aka TUA'S Kung Fu Grip, picked up Jacoby Brissett. Decent backup start for another couple of weeks or so. I believe it's week 11 that we're supposed to be getting Watson back. So we should have a decent couple of weeks now in case he needs a fill-in for a quarterback. I personally dropped Mike Davis because I was tired of having that trash on my bench. I dropped Ronald Jones after blowing 300 fab on him a few weeks back. So that was a really nice way to throw away some fab early on in the season. But I thought it was worth the upside if he did come out of the gates and was a starter. Unfortunately, he's been inactive every single week, and Isaiah Pacheco won that job over him in training camp. So I will no longer be taking part in Ronald Jones. Isaiah dropped ALIE-COX. Then Andy, aka Aaron Rodgers on Shrooms, picked up ALIE-COX with a whopping 0 fab bid. We will revisit some of these moves later on in the show, but that's about it for ads and drops of notice. So let's take a dive into the bops and flops for week 4 of the 2022 NFL season.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna start with the flops. Number 3, we got the Jaguars running backs. Funny enough, the Love Boat incident has both of these guys, and it became the Jaguars running backs incident this week. Ran for a total of 61 yards, 0 receptions, 0 touchdowns, and a fumble. Accumulated total of 5.1 points. And if you cut that in half for all my math folks out there, that's about 2.55. So there you go, a little math in the spot. Yeah, dude, I can literally argue that Sullivan lost this week because of both of them. But I think what was really shocking, especially with the ETIENNE, was 0 receptions. I really couldn't believe that when I was reading the score sheet this week that both the running backs had 0 catches. That was pretty wild. But yeah, moving on to number 2. I don't really know why this guy was drafted by this awful commissioner, not commissioner, but is Amari Cooper. I think this one hits close to Matthew. Can't talk. Hits close to home for Matthew this week. After a big week 3, he did practically nothing this week. He had 1 reception for 9 yards. Yep, that's it. He gave Matthew 1.9 points. I repeat, 1.9 points. Yikes, man. I do imagine he'll be pretty bust or boom until Watson comes back, and I imagine he'll level out a little bit more with having a higher floor. But the number 1, I got Gabriel Davis, man. I spent the entire summer, I feel like, in like the last 3 months, listening to every single fantasy football channel guide throwing Gabriel Davis's name like every third sentence. And 2 weeks in a row, he's been a dud. I won't count 3 weeks ago when he was out, but yeah, dude, he had 3 targets. He caught 1 reception, 13 yards. If Joni One gets a better performance this week out of Gabe Davis, he probably is not looking at a record of 1-3. I still expect him a pretty solid year. Just that high flying Bills offense, but yeah, pretty rocky start for him this far, and what everyone's saying. So,
Would you say it's even fair to consider Gabriel Davis a wide receiver 2 right now?
No, I couldn't. I'd start him as flex for sure, just because I'm not really sure there's potential there. But no, I need to see some more consistent numbers.
It's pretty crazy because he was drafted so highly. He was drafted with the expectation that he could be a wide receiver 2, if not a break into a wide receiver 1 potential, with the high scoring offense that the Bills are. And he's just been an absolute flop this year. I got a fun question though for you. Since we're talking about Davis, I have another Davis in mind here. Would you rather have Corey Davis or Gabe Davis right now?
Like moving forward in Dynasty, or just this week? Or
I'd say just this year. Let me throw out some numbers. I'm not sure if you realize, but Corey Davis has put up in week 1, 13.5 points. Week 2, 16.3 points. In week 4, it was a low week for him, 4.7 points. And this last week, he put up 18.4 points. He's been targeted 10 times, 4 times, 5 times, 7 times, including this most recent week here, 7 times. He was targeted for 5 receptions and 74 yards and a touchdown. This actually leads back into last year, the connection that Corey Davis has with Zach Wilson. And he loves throwing Corey Davis the ball, and he can't stand throwing it to Elijah Moore for some reason. So based on the targets, based on the performance that Corey Davis has been providing consistently as what seems to be like a consistent wide receiver 2 option there above Elijah Moore in New York, would you rather have Corey Davis or Gabe Davis?
Man, it's tough. I guess for this year, yeah, I guess you lean Corey Davis now that Wilson's back, but
it's a spicy take, baby. Let's go. We got a spicy take.
I'll probably, dude, knowing my luck, Gabe Davis is gonna have 4 touchdowns and 300 yards this week. So yeah, I mean, kind of gotta lean Corey right now. But
listen, I'm not just saying this because his name sounds like my last name, but I think I'd have to start Corey Davis over Gabe Davis right now. And I hate to say it, but it's really not even close until I can see consistent performance from Gabe Davis. Now, here's the one piece as well, is this is kind of a trick question because Gabe Davis saw what did he see for targets here, Gabe Davis, this last week?
He got 3 targets.
Got 3 targets. So his targets have actually been going down, but he's been seeing the same amount of snap percentage every single week. And I know that it was kind of a weird week against Baltimore, but like until I can see the consistency coming in from him, I'm not going to be happy with 5-6 targets a game. We know that he, has been someone who's always been able to find the end zone. and that's been one of his biggest strengths and but also his weakness is that he just doesn't see a large amount of targets. So unless I can see that creep up, honestly, I probably trust the target volume a little bit more than that. But that being said, I'm going to go into some of this week's BOPS and players that showed up and showed out. At number 3 coming in, we have our waiver ad of the week, ALIE-COX.
All right, I'll catch you later, man. I'm hopping off.
He put up 29.5 points, 6 targets for 6 receptions, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. And in case you guys remember the beginning of this, to top this all off, Isiah just dropped him this week, and Andy scooped him up like the hero that he is just to sit him on the bench while 30 points were thrown away. I guess that Andy likes taking Isaiah's Cox and putting it in places where nobody can see it, i.e. his bench.
Yeah, not to mention that I think Ali had more points this week than Alberto was giving me all year. That was it's been like just a stab wound, but yeah, these things happen.
Now, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't expect this performance to continue, but this was just too much Cox for the Titans to handle. It's like the old saying goes, Matt Ryan loves big Cox. But enough about Cox. Let's move on to my number 2.
That's probably not the only thing likes to choke. I mean, 2, because the Patriots 28-3. But I'll let you go on to number 2.
Thank gosh. Didn't think we'd be getting a 28-3 joke in this week, but yet it still lives on. So I appreciate that.
Yes, it does.
My number 2 BOP of the week is Austin Ekeler, 33.9 fantasy points. While he wasn't the highest scoring running back on the week, I did want to call him out because fantasy managers have been waiting for his touchdowns to return. He had 13 attempts on the ground, 60 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he caught 6 of 7 targets in the air for another 49 yards and a touchdown. So he had 3 total touchdowns on the week. It was just good to see him picking up where he left off last year and showing why he was deserving of that first round draft pick in most redraft leagues this year.
Yeah, he's a beast. That's why I drafted him.
For sure. And I know you've been waiting for it, and we've been just seeing touchdown for touchdown passed off to these most random fullbacks, and it's been super frustrating. But I think this will probably continue because as it panned out for him, 3 touchdowns is a huge game, and I don't see 3 touchdowns every single game coming up, but it's bumped his average up now to a touchdown a game. So, and then my number 1 BOP of the week, we got TJ Hockenson. So the Hawk dropped a whopping 43.9 points in our league scoring. He was targeted 12 times, 8 receptions for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, he was literally just yards short of a 3rd touchdown of the game. I think he was brought down on like the 2. He averaged 22.38 yards per reception. And this performance was enough to move him up to tight end 3 on the year on a points per game basis, behind only Travis Kelce at 22.8 and Mark Andrews at 20.1. He comes in at 18.3 points per game, respectively. The man showed that really he's truly underutilized, and he can make it happen when his team needs him to step up. They didn't have any other targets, and Jared Goff just kept throwing on the ball. He made it happen. Big week for Hockenson. All right. Well, let's talk about the 2 trades that went down since the last podcast was recorded. Isiah, since you were involved in the first one, why don't you go ahead and talk us through what the trade was and how it took place?
Yeah, so I traded Dalvin Cook in exchange for Jameson Williams, the Lions, and a 23rd first-round pick, which is Team Joni 1's first-round pick because of some earlier trades. SEDINPOWER done. Yeah, just starting off, I like this trade for both of us. I like it a little bit more for me. Looking at my roster, I feel pretty good about my running back depth moving forward. I got Ekeler, you got Harris, CH. I have Akers. Not sure how viable Akers is, but I got him. Yeah, unfortunately, I won this week. I feel good as a playoff team. I'm back from 2-2. So I don't think I'm punted on my roster. I just want to get younger, especially the running backs. I feel like once they hit like 27, 28, that's when you start to see a decline. And I feel like we've seen a little bit with Cook this year. But, you know, I think this trade also makes sense for SEDINPOWER as well. He's got one of the best teams in the league. And he somehow still has 2 first-round picks next year. And he also owns Angie's, so which is projected to be the first pick. So, yeah, we can expect Bijan Robinson to go next year. But, yeah, and he's got, you know, he gives himself a deeper running back option. For me, I really like Jameson Williams. I thought he was the best receiver coming out of college last year. Fortunately, had the ACL injury and led the championship game and fell a bit more to the Lions. But I think when he comes back, I think we're going to see a stud. And yeah, and you know, even better, I got King Joni one's first-round pick. And respectfully, dude, I will be rooting for your downfall all year. Just so you know, it's only so I get a better pick. But yeah, do you like him for both? I lean a little bit towards me with Dalvin Cook's age, but if he wins this year, I mean, it's a win for him. So.
Yeah, I mean, with the trajectory that Cook's season is going right now, you may have sold him high, and that's crazy to think, based on, you know, how high the expectations were going into this season. According to Fantasy Pros for their trade value charts, the 23 firsts and Williams together definitely are more valuable than Cook in the long term. But obviously, Williams is going to be injured for the majority of this year. When he comes back, you know, I'm not expecting him to see a full workload right away as they work him into the offense. So I definitely think that long term, you know, this is the play for you. And I think that it gives, you know, SEDINPOWER an extra running back that's going to see volume and give him an opportunity to compete for a title this year. And obviously the pick that he traded away, he knows he's going to be able to rely on, you know, what potentially is going to be the number 1 overall pick in Angie's pick. He traded away what, I mean, it could be potentially a top 5 pick in Team Joni 1, if not all, you know, goes according to plan, at least a mid-round pick in the first round, according to kind of like power rankings right now and things like that, which things could change, listen, as the season goes on, but he didn't even trade away his own first-round pick. So I think this is a great move for you to pick up that, you know, what could be potentially an early first-round pick. Great move for him. And, you know, nice job, both of you guys.
Dude, thanks. Yeah, you were involved in the next one. You want to get us started on your trade?
Yeah, for sure. So I knew that we talked about this in the last couple episodes. I was running into a backlog of wide receivers, and this is a great problem to have, but it was creating a lot of start or sit issues with me, as well as I had just picked up Chris Godwin and already had Mike Evans. So now I just wasn't in love with having to stack both wide receivers from the Bucs when I was already struggling with who to start. I had thrown out some offers to SEDINPOWER. I know he was looking to upgrade his wide receiver room, which I'm sorry, he was looking to upgrade his running back room, which I also was looking to do. But once your trade went down with him, you know, I think picking up Dalvin Cook, he was more willing to reopen trade talks with me when it comes to saying, okay, I was able to secure a more, you know, heavier running back 1. So I needed a running back 2 badly. I wanted to move one of those 2 bucks. So I originally threw out an offer. It was Mike Evans for DJ Moore and Antonio Gibson. He countered back with Evans and Godwin for DJ Moore, Antonio Gibson, and Zamir White. I was like, nope, that's too much to give up, especially considering I'd just given up a first to get Godwin. So I was like, nope, not gonna do that trade. So I countered with what ended up being the final offer. I give up Mike Evans, Michael Gallup, and Darnell Mooney, which, if you remember, I acquired Mooney for basically a second and Michael Gallup for Albert O. So essentially I gave up Mike Evans, Albert O, and a second, and I got DJ Moore and Antonio Gibson in return. So I really like that move for me. I think it plays to some of the trades that I was able to make. It got rid of the older of the 2 Bucs wide receivers. It got me a younger receiver in DJ Moore. I know that this year he looks like he doesn't have any opportunity, but I'm expecting big things once his coaching staff is gone and once the QB changes are made, potentially next year in the draft. And in the meantime, I get a serviceable, you know, sub in running back 2 in Gibson, which I shouldn't have started this week, but I was very excited to actually have him. So The other good news is I have on my bench, I have Robinson, who is the other running back over there in the backfield for the Commanders. So even if Gibson doesn't work out and Robinson takes over, I have both of them. So I have at least that running back room secured. What are your thoughts on the trade?
I'm glad you talked through your side of it, because yeah, I actually hate this trade, man. I really do. I was kind of baffled why you made it. It makes more sense now that you kind of explained why. I just feel like you have a good enough team to win this year. And I mean, you got rid of at least 2 receivers that should be starters. I get it. Mike Evans is old, pushing whatever, like 30 now. And DJ Moore obviously has more value because of his age. I understand. But I mean, for this year, can't feel too hot about Moore's production with Baker back there. And then I think my biggest gripe is Antonio Gibson's long-term value. Coming in this year, it didn't even sound like he was going to be a starting running back. It's going to be very much running back by committee. Unfortunately, Brian Robinson got shot. Unfortunately, he's doing much better now, and looks like he actually might return next week. But I mean, moving forward, I don't really see how Gibson has so much value when he's year 2, and it's not like he's ran away with the job. I can see it working out for you because the age for both those guys, but I think it was a huge gamble. Meanwhile, SEDINPOWER, I feel like you sold kind of higher on Gibson. I think each week, probably Gibson's value is going to go down because I think, Brian Robinson's going to get incorporated into the offense. And I feel like you got the best player right now, and that's obviously what he's trying to do is win this year with Mike Evans, who may just push him over the top. But yeah, it's my 2 cents on it.
No, definitely. I definitely agree. Mike Evans is the best piece in that trade. No doubt about it. And that's why I originally had offered the 2-for-1 is because I needed to get off of the Bucks, and I really wanted to diversify a little bit more depth. Because if you look at my running backs, I have Jones, and I have Sanders, and then I have Kareem Hunt, and that's it. I only have those 3. So we have bye weeks coming up. We have potentials for injuries coming up. I was very stacked in wide receiver, and I thought this was a good opportunity to get some value back. Take a look at what Dynasty Fantasy Pros has for their Dynasty values. We have DJ Moore ranked as the 35th overall Dynasty player. We have Gibson ranked as a 63rd overall Dynasty player, and we have Mike Evans ranked as the 52nd overall Dynasty player. So when you think about in Dynasty, I'm moving up in those Dynasty rankings for getting a player who's much younger and has a long-term value. DJ Moore has also been super, super consistent. He's put up 1,000 yards every single season. He hasn't necessarily gotten the touchdowns to go along with it, but he's always been consistently under the radar as hey, whether it's a high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2, consistently, he's got the talent to be successful. It may not happen this year, but you got to remember who I have in front of him on my depth chart. I'm not even going to start him this week. I've got Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams. On my bench, I've got Amari Cooper, and then I've got DJ Moore. So when it comes to being the 6th option there with the potential to break out in the future, I do like that upside. So that's kind of my thought process on that, is I thought I got at least a decent value back for it. I didn't really want to have Mooney on my bench. And I thought if I could turn Mooney into, some additional value, I really like that. So basically the way I broke it down is Gallup and Mooney for DJ Moore, and then Evans for Gibson. Or you could flip it and say Evans for DJ Moore and Gallup and Mooney for Gibson. Either way, I don't love the players, but I think it helped out my team overall build. So we'll see how
Is that why you're in my inbox with the DJ Moore trade 30 minutes after the trade, or what?
Listen, man, I just thought maybe you wanted to take advantage of the Moore. I thought you wanted maybe some more out of the deal.
No, I'm the only person taking advantage of DJ Moore is Baker Mayfield right now.
So bad. It's so bad. All right. Well, let's take a look now at what happened with last week's predictions, and we'll go into what it looks like for this upcoming week's matchups. But Isiah, if you want to just talk me through the misery, I would appreciate it.
So I went on the podcast last week, and I was kind of clowned with my prediction. Actually, if I remember correctly, that 1-3, Chris Rock's jaw was going to be. I'm sorry, no, 1-2. Chris Rock's jaw was going to be 2-1. SEDINPOWER, and not only did I say I was going to win, I said I was going to push 150. Matthew, do you want to tell the people what I did?
I concede to the greatness that is Chris Rock's jaw. You put up 152.62. Oh my gosh.
And that was after I traded Dalvin Cook. That's how confident I was. So,
dude, I admit I'm never going to doubt you again. I'm voting with you for the rest of the season, as if you have to take on Darius.
That's valid. That's valid. And then what next? We had Love Boat incident against SKOL Squad.
Yep.
Which you called.
My boy Trevor came through in the clutch. Thanks for not letting me down, man. I certainly appreciate it. Making me look good. I've been a Trevor truther since day one. Call me the PT.
Yes. And that's 2 weeks in a row for him, no?
It is. No, I think he almost won last week against Darius, but he did not pull it out.
You're right.
It was the second week that he won, but that's still 2-2. And you'll see when the power rankings update, but making moves. Spoiler alert.
You got the next matchup, Matt?
Yeah, for sure. So the next one was Tommy Lee's Raging Dongers. The last time I'm going to be able to say that. Now TUA'S Kung Fu Grip, and he was facing Team Joni 1, which we both predicted that TUA'S Kung Fu Grip was going to take that one, and he did. It was actually a pretty close matchup. He only won by like a little bit less than 15 points, 106-92. But he did take the victory, going 3-1 now, and that puts him ranked in the rankings here, number 3 in the league. So nice job.
Yeah, no, it was a good dub. And then I think you decided to be a knucklehead and choose our guest on the show last week.
Listen,
over SAQUAN, these nuts.
Let me defend our guest last week, Terrell here with Team Big Cheese Fire. He put up 143 points, which would have beaten every single person in the league except for you and the team that he did face. So the third highest point scorer on the week. I think it was actually not a terrible bet to choose.
I think he would have won if he had not traded Keenan Allen for Noah Brown, even though Keenan Allen didn't play. Just kidding. That's the point. All right, and then we had one TYREE kill, Matthew, against Aaron Rodgers on Shrooms. And dude, I'll give credit to you. You knew you were going to lose, and you owned it, and you took it like a man, and you were right.
Yep. Just nothing more needs to be said there. I lost by 36 points. So
yeah, it's a little whooping. And then we had Darius had his bye for the week. He played Angie. I'm just kidding. But no, Darius played Angie and he won. And we both called it. So yeah, I'm sitting at 14-10 after a 4-2 week. And you went 4-2 and you are now 13-11. So yeah, you're only a game behind.
Only one prediction behind. Gonna make it up this week for sure. And call it a comeback, baby. Call it a comeback.
Thank you.
All right, Isaiah, you want to talk us through what we're seeing this coming week here?
Yeah, so first matchup of the week is Chris Rock's jaw, yours truly, versus SAQUAN these nuts. I'm coming off a hot streak, 2 wins in a row. I said I was going to push 150 last week, but I don't think I pushed 150 this week. And unfortunately, I think my hot streak comes to an end. I really like SAQUAN these nuts roster. I think at the moment in the time being, his roster's a fairly bit better than mine, matchup based. When healthy, and I think when a couple of my players come back, I'll put mine up against anyone in the league. But I mean, if you look at just our tight end and flex positions, I mean, I'm as of right now, when it's looking this way, I'm gonna have to start Evan Ingram and Cam Akers, and I don't love that for me, as the kids say. So, what's your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I'm just going to go through this line by line. So I like Wilson over Goff, although it is a great matchup for Goff this week, and I could see that being, flipped around. But I still think that, Wilson showed us a glimpse last week of greatness. And if that can continue this week, and Indianapolis has not looked great, I think I like Wilson a little bit more. I'll be honest, I do like Barkley over EKELER right now, just because I think it's a little bit more consistent. I like Chubb over Harris. Chubb has just been top 3 this year when it comes to being a running back. Najee Harris is going up against Buffalo's defense and has literally seen no targets. He got a brand new rookie quarterback in there, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I'm not really loving that matchup. Kupp over T. Higgins, obviously. I actually like DK Metcalf more than Sutton this week. DK has literally been showing out again with Geno Smith. So that's been fantastic. So I actually like him. I like Ertz over Ingram, Fournette over Akers, Connor. I think I might like CEH over Connor.
Yeah, CEH season, baby.
Yeah. And then when it comes to the Bears, with Minnesota versus the Saints, I'm gonna have to go the Saints. So honestly, almost every single player matchup I like better on King Cobb, aka SAQUAN D's nuts side. You have a couple of good players on there that could definitely win when it comes to that. But when you start to compare them one for one, I think I'm gonna have to go with SAQUAN D's nuts this week. But if you push 150 again, you're gonna be able to compete with any team in the league. So
yeah, I unfortunately don't think it's gonna happen, but I would have loved to have seen it.
All right, what's the next matchup that we're looking at?
Yeah, dude, we got Love Boat Incidents versus Team Joni. It's actually right now probably the closest projected matchup we've seen to date, with the Love Boat Incident projected 122.05 and Team Joni won at 122.54. But because I'm biased and have Team Joni's first round pick in 2023, I actually don't think he's going to win the rest of the year. And I have the Love Boat Incidents winning this just based on me speaking it into existence. I did think Elijah Moore showed some chemistry towards the later half of the year with Zach Wilson. And I think Jamar Chase is due for a big game. So those are my calls.
Yeah, I mean, the Love Boat Incident has a really great core, and Patrick Mahomes is going on Monday Night Football. He shows out in prime time. Jamar Chase is due for a big game against Baltimore, where they're going to be throwing back and forth all game. And on the flip side, Joe Mixon running up against Baltimore. If they're going to be throwing a lot, they're probably not going to be running a lot. So I don't know if it's going to be a ton of opportunities for Mixon. Gordon looked really bad in the game. And obviously rest in peace to, Javonte Williams this season, but Melvin Gordon, he's going to have opportunities, but I don't know how much he's going to be able to capitalize on those opportunities.
I mean, dude just needs to work on holding on to the football.
Right. We have Gabe Davis in there as well. So we have Gordon, we got Gabe Davis. I love that he starts Will Dissly, who's been just catching touchdowns like crazy. But they have a 3-headed monster over there in Seattle when they're tight end room. And I don't know that I can trust to start any of them on any given week. I love J.K. Dobbins this week, though. I think that'll be a great start. Mike Williams is going to be a great start. So I do like a lot of those options. I actually don't like Elijah Moore this week. I think St. Brown's going to be potentially out again this week. And if that happens, he might be forced to start ETIENNE, or, if he doesn't start ETIENNE, there's nobody else on the bench that I would start. I think that right now I'm going to go and say that the Love Boat Incident takes this one. However, this is with a caveat saying that I would not be surprised if Amon-Ra St. Brown does not play and he ends up losing the game. It's going to be a very, very close matchup, probably the closest matchup of the week.
Yeah. Sweet. Moving on to our third matchup of the week, we got SKOL Squad versus TUA'S Kung Fu Grip. Dan's coming this week 3-1, and Trevor's coming off another win this week, and he's 2-2. I do think Dan wins this week, and with the current way these teams are set up, I like Dan's flex spots right now, currently a lot more than Trevor's, with Dan rolling out both Kirk and London, with Trevor currently starting Romeo Doubs and Tyler Conklin. I do think, though, depending on what Trevor does with something like his bench option, you could make this week fairly close. But I got TUA'S Kung Fu Grip with the dub.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm with you on this one. So far we've been kind of aligned when it comes to most of these picks, but I'm just looking at the matchups that Tua's Kung Fu Grip has on his side. I really love Dameon Pierce this week against Jacksonville. I love Pittman against Denver Thursday Night Football. And I see Christian Kirk in there, like just fantastic. Godert's look great. Joe Burrow against Baltimore. We already talked about how they're probably going to be throwing a lot. I love the Packers against the Giants this week. Looking down at the bench, I see Corey Davis sitting there. I'd start him over Drake London this week. I see Brandon Cooks on the bench. I see Brandon Ayuk on the bench. Wow, he's got a really stacked bench. So, I mean, I'm talking three wide receivers I'd probably start over Drake London, maybe even over Curtis Samuel, some of those guys, to be honest with you, just because I don't trust Carson Wentz. But like, this is just a fantastically stacked team. Listen, Josh Jacobs has been great. Singletary has sufficed. Deontay Johnson scares me this week because he's got a brand new quarterback. I don't know if you watched the game, but he disappeared once Pickett took over. So not really sure if we can trust, Johnson, and he may take over the lead with a full game and, time to prepare and all of that. But I'm not really sure if I can trust it or not. So I think, this week, I'm going to have to give the edge to, Tua's Kung Fu Grip. We could obviously see a huge game from Dobbs. We could see a huge game from Hollywood Brown again if Johnson decided to show up. But yeah, against the Bills secondary, I'm not sure how much I'd bank on that. And are we going to keep trying to rely on huge games from Jacobs every single week? I don't know if I want to put money on that. So this week, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Tua's Kung Fu Grip is probably going to go 4-1. But Trevor, I got you next week. Okay, have no fear.
All right, sweet. For number 4, we got Team SADINPOWER versus Big Cheese Fire. SADINPOWER is off a tough loss last week to your truly, and going up against Big Cheese Fire is up another tough loss. I chose SADINPOWER losing last week, but I just don't see it happening again. He's got a great squad, especially with these recent trades. With the additions of Evans and Cook. It's projected 136 to Big Cheese Fire's 125. I just think his receivers are too much to handle right now. With Jalen Waddle, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and I should paraphrase Deebo Samuel now that he's back with Jimmy G, and Mike Evans. It's filthy, dude, and he should be expecting. I would expect bounce back games from Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook, and I think he wins this one.
It's just disgusting. I mean, the fact that on the other side of the ball, Terrell's starting a couple of options here that I'm maybe not the biggest fans of. Isaiah McKenzie, Juju, Tyler Higbee. And those are the 3 best options that we're rolling out. Honestly, I'd actually definitely start Tyler Lockett ahead of Juju or McKenzie because Tyler Lockett has been locked in, no pun intended. Actually, yes, pun intended. Damian Harris against the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions just literally gave up 200 rushing yards to Rashad Penny last week. Starting Damian Harris for sure over those 2 guys. And like maybe we make those moves and this becomes a much closer matchup in my opinion. Because actually in that case, then we'd have some pretty smashing mashups. And Derrick Henry has looked great. Tom Brady against the Atlanta Falcons. Pretty sure he owns the Atlanta Falcons, just like he owns a divorce lawyer. I saw that on the news today. We got Darren Waller, primetime. I don't know, man. You said you were never going to come in here and trash Justin Jefferson again. He showed up again this week. Justin Jefferson, I got to go with my man, Terrell. Back-to-back weeks, I don't see him taking an L.
Wow.
I think he's going to be close. He's going to make the right lineup changes before game time, and I think he's going to pull out the dub.
I respect him, man. I respect it.
Hey, look,
number 5.
Brady forever, man. You can't vote against the GOAT.
You do make a very, very valid argument there. Number 5, we got Aaron Rodgers on SHROOMS versus table humping trash. I made a joke earlier about Angie being the bye week, but I take it all back. Angie's getting her first dub this week, boys. Table humping trash country. Let's ride. I just have this gut feeling. I'm not sure it's because, you know, Russ and the Danger Wish commercials coming out. I'm just feeling a little zesty, but I think Angie pulls a victory off this week. She's projected only 95 points, currently to Andy's 107, but I think she pulls it off to go 1-4 as Andy falls to 2-3. I will say this: I'm pretty worried about Andy's roster moving forward with his lack of decent bench options. I was looking at it earlier, and there's not a single person that I would feel comfortable starting with on his bench. So yeah, I got Angie winning. I don't think she pushes 150, but I think she pushes enough for the victory. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to does which version of Devontae Smith do we see this week? Do we see the Devontae Smith that's a target hog, or do we see what we saw last week in the rain game where he just didn't get any targets at all? I really think that when it comes down to it, I still got to go with Aaron Rodgers on Shrooms. He just beat me last week. So if I don't go and say, you know, like, okay, take this into perspective. If he beat me and then the next week lost to Angie's table humping trash, I think I would have to leave the league. Because if you think about it, he beat me and then the worst team in the league beat him. So that actually makes me the worst team in the league. So like, yeah. That's just like how it works.
You'd be the worst team in the league. And you'd also be the worst at making predictions on the podcast. That's a double whammy right there.
Right. I'd be the table. I'd have to rename my team name to table because that I would be the table that Angie's table humping trash is humping.
Yeah, I'd have to get you a Watson jersey for sure.
Exactly. So I think that it is going to be Andy that takes this one. He does have no bench at all. Honestly, I might shoot him a trade after this podcast is recorded to try and give him some needed bench strength. Cordell Patterson added to the IR. That sucks for him. And that was kind of his guy right there. He could always roll out Trey Sermon. I'm sure that would be a great option for him.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad look. It's almost as bad of a look as, you know, benching Kyle Pitts, even though he's been trash this year. But
listen, man, I'm benching him again this week, and I'm gonna be happy about it. Listen, let's just go on a tangent about Kyle Pitts for a second. I cannot start a tight end who received I should say his quarterback completed 7 passes. And it wasn't a game with ridiculous wins like when Mac Jones had that one game where he made 1 pass attempt or 2 pass attempts in the entire game. There was no excuse. It was literally a game in London. He received 4 targets, 1 reception for 25 yards. So it's not a matter of his talent. When he catches the ball, he got 25 yards per catch. But he's not going to receive the targets in this offense right now until something drastic happens, and they're going up against Tampa Bay, then San Francisco. Like, I just see.
I get it. I saw a tweet earlier. It's like, oh no, Kyle Pitts is probably gonna have a trash quarterback for the next 2 years. And oh no, he's only gonna be 23.
Well, it's true. So I love him in Dynasty, but this year, like Gerald Everett has received more than 6 targets in 3 of the 4 games that he's been in, and he scored more than 15 fantasy points in 3 of those games. And I mean, I'm just like, the one game that he doesn't score more than 10 points is when I started him over Kyle Pitts. So like, obviously if I start him this week, Kyle Pitts will go off on my bench, and Everett will have a dull game, and then I'll flip flop them again, and then he'll go off again. So like, just so anyone out there wants to start Kyle Pitts this week, that would be the week to do it. That's how this works. But yeah, that's my Kyle Pitts tangent of the week. I'm not starting him until I can see back-to-back weeks where he puts up a consistent performance, because he doesn't have touchdown upside. So even though he can make these big plays, I don't trust him to get in the end zone. He scored 1 touchdown all of last year, even when he put up over 1,000 yards. I'd rather have Gerald Everett with the touchdown upside, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and if you don't plan on starting Kyle Pitts, that leads me to our next projection. I think you're going to lose listen to this. You're going to lose this week because you don't start Kyle Pitts. It's going to be a close matchup. Kyle Pitts is going to finally go off, and you're going to regret leaving him on your bench. It also has nothing to do with Darius' roster being absolutely OP. Yeah, I haven't chosen against him, I don't think, at all this year, and I don't plan on starting now. He is dealing with some injury concerns, given that I don't know. I mean, I doubt Swift plays this week. Maybe we get Keenan Allen back. But yeah, having him improving to 5-0 in the year with one Tyreek falling to 2-3. Dude, I really do like your roster this week, but I just think his roster right now is just too much to overcome. And, you know, if you want to be a meatball and still leave Kyle Pitts on your bench, then don't know what to tell you.
Listen, I think that I got to go with my gut, and I got to go with myself on this week. I know I'm not projected for the most.
Wow.
I know I'm not projected, but I think I'm going to take down the giant, take down the beast. Listen, I'm looking at his injury concerns right now, and I think that if Keenan Allen does not play, and even if he does play, I'm not 100% confident he's back to full health. What does he have backup options? His bench is decimated right now. He's starting Darrell Henderson and Rashad Penny, and Rashad Penny's about to go up against a stacked New Orleans line. He's starting Darrell Henderson, who just the run game in Los Angeles has looked atrocious. And I know that Darrell Henderson, you know, he had only 7 attempts this last week for 27 yards. He did receive 4 targets, but like they're going nowhere. Him and Akers just look like they are choosing to run into the backs of their defenders instead of figuring out a way to go around them. And I know it's harder than that. I understand that, but it's not what it looks like on TV. It looks like you're an idiot. Why are you running into the backs of these guys when there's literally nobody to your left and nobody to your right? But that being said, you know, I really love Darius's tight end stack. I like Lamb and Diggs. I like Josh Allen, of course. How can you not? But I just worry about the depth. I think that I might have all around a little bit more depth. I think that Tyreek Hill, Godwin's, and Adams can stack up against Kelsey, Andrews, and Diggs. So then it comes down to saying Godwin versus Lamb. I might give the edge to Lamb perhaps until I can see it. But then if it comes down to Aaron Jones and Sanders versus Henderson and Penny, I'm taking Aaron Jones and Sanders. You know, and then at the end of the day, when you're talking Derek Carr versus Josh Allen, yeah, it's probably going to be Josh Allen in that matchup. But I think that there's enough there to say that I might have the opportunity to edge this one out. And so I'm going to vote with myself.
Are you starting Gibson?
And I'm not going to start Gibson this week. No.
You're not going to start the 2 guys you traded for.
I wasn't going to start Mike Evans, or I was either going to sit Godwin or Mike Evans. So honestly,
that's fair.
You know, it's one of those. Either way you look at it.
Well, yeah, man, that's all the predictions for this week. Yeah, I know I can't wait to be first again next week when we do this. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to you taking a 3-game lead ahead of me. So that brings us into this week's MVPs. Isiah, why don't you go ahead and talk us through who your overall MVP was?
Jared MF Goff, my guy. Do you know he's the number 5 quarterback in fantasy this year, Matthew?
I can't believe it.
Yeah, Jared Goff. Dude, what a blessing. When Dak went down, I was like, we got old running backs. We're not performing. Dak's down. I'm screwed. But Jared Goff has been keeping me afloat, baby. He went off this week. Dude. 398 yards, 4 touchdowns. I really need a stellar performance from him this week going out against Seaton's stacked roster. And yeah, he came through in the clutch. Yeah, that was with no Amon St. Brown or Swift and no Jameson Williams yet. And yeah, dude, Jared Goff. That's my guy, Jared Goff. Bench MVP. So, you know, it's just a rough week for Team G21 in general. Javonte goes down. And then he decides to make the decision to start Josh Palmer over J.K. Dobbins. And if he had not done that, he'd be 2-2 this week, looking at a different season moving forward. But yeah, after coming back from injury, 2 weeks ago, this week he went for 41 yards, a touchdown on the ground. And then the air, he went for 4 receptions, 22 yards, and then another touchdown through the air. And yeah, if he's going to be heavily involved in the offense moving forward, can't imagine him leaving him on the bench for many more weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I was really in on Dobbins this offseason, and a lot of people were not. A lot of people weren't sure if he was going to be able to recover. It wasn't looking great going into this season. And honestly, the first week back, he was really eased into the workload, didn't get a lot of touches. And I don't blame, Goni One for wanting to actually see him, put up some more touches and some more yardage before you actually sit him into your starting lineup. But I mean, obviously mistake this week, but going forward, I think he's going to be seeing a healthy workload. The Ravens have been dying for somebody to actually run the ball. That's a decent running back. Believe it or not, Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake just aren't cutting it this year. Believe it or not. So I love it. Love J.K. Dobbins and Jared Goff, of course. Dude, this is just an incredible story. Also, the fact that the Seahawks decided to not show up and play football this week, the defense at least. I think they might have got that memo. I think they might have actually been putting out the second string defense by accident. I think the first string may have got their bus detoured on the way to the stadium. So,
yeah, they're playing like the practice squad.
Yeah, they said, we can get them some good reps out there. It's like, the last game, was it game 16 of the year when you've already clinched a playoff spot, and you give your guys some rest. That's kind of what it felt like, because we're about to talk about this with my MVP of the week here, Rashaad Penny. But both teams almost individually matched the Vegas totals for the entire game. So I think the Vegas total was like 50 something for the entire game, and both teams almost matched that individually with how high scoring the game was. So just absolutely insane amount of points put up on both sides. It literally felt like if me and you were playing on Madden, and we were just absolutely destroying the computer on easy mode or whatever, just back and forth. But my MVP of the week, Rashaad Penny. So Darius's team, now Modern Welfare 3, started him in place of DeAndre Swift. He was out this week. Darius had to look elsewhere for production, and boy, did he find it. We already knew ahead of time that it was going to be a smash matchup against the Lions, but I guess both defenses forgot to show up. Both the Lions and Seahawks almost matched their Vegas totals for the entire game themselves, like I mentioned, but Darius made the right choice to start Penny this week, and it paid off. I'll be honest, the matchup wouldn't have been close anyways, but he put the nail in an otherwise comfortable victory just to show how absolutely dominant his team can be. And it terrifies me having to face him this week.
Why got you losing?
My bench MVP is a fellow that I am quite familiar with, and his name is Miles Sanders. And he put up 29 points this week. And you know where he put up those 29 points, Isaiah?
Not on your bench?
He actually was on my bench. He was. That's why he's my bench MVP. So he's sitting on my bench, 29 points. Did I win this week without him in my lineup?
I mean, if you're asking me to do math, I'm not too hot in that, but I don't think you won.
No, I didn't win this week, and I sat 29 points on my bench. So once again, I chose the wrong running back to start, and this week it cost me. Sanders has actually been averaging 15 attempts per game. So don't get me wrong, his opportunity had been there. But this week, he actually almost doubled that with 27 touches, and he saw 3 targets as well, which tied his season high. He rushed for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also caught 2 of those targets for 22 yards. And I started Antonio Gibson over him. Now, I know this was a rain game. So for the Eagles, they won by scoring 4 times on the ground. But regardless, the volume and touchdown opportunities are there for Sanders moving forwards. And he was a hot bench warmer for me this week. To be honest, I still would have lost even if I had started him, thanks to Amari Cooper and Kyle Pitts. But it would have been much closer matchup, and it wouldn't have felt quite as bad to lose if I had started him. Oh, well. That brings us into a new segment we're going to be introducing this week. We're super excited for it, and we're going to be calling this Breakouts to Watch. I wanted to introduce basically a section where we can talk about someone that we think is going to be breaking out this next week and why. And so for me, I'm going to kind of kick us off and talk about my week 5 breakout to watch. Even if it's not in week 5, listen, hold me to this. If it's not week 5, it's coming very soon here. And that is George Pickens. So with Mitch Trubisky seemingly out of the way, it's undeniable that there seems to be just this connection between Pickens and Kenny Pickett. And it's not just because their names rhyme. Pickens has played in 70+% of snaps since week 1. And in the last 2 weeks, he's seen over 7 targets. This week, he led the Steelers with 8 targets and an elite 30% of the team's target share. He also ranked 3rd on the week in the entire NFL with 156 air yards. He has averaged 118 air yards since week 1. And this means that his receptions, when he does catch them, will translate into big plays. I'm projecting a breakout game for George Pickens this week. Pickens to Pickett. No, Pickett to Pickens. Let's go.
No, I get it, dude. That catch he had, was that 2 weeks ago now?
Yep.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I watched some other clips of some catches he had just like Georgia practice a couple years ago. Dude, he's ridiculous. For mine, I have Kyle. No, I'm just kidding. But you should start Kyle Pitts this week. Rachaad White. Like most rookie running backs who aren't drafted like the first round, it's been definitely an ease in the offense for him. But he had a really good week 4. He had 5 catches for 50 yards, 3 carries for 6 yards and a touchdown. And I think with like Tom Brady and over his career, he's loved having guys come out of the backfield who are absolutely reliable with their hands. And, even when I just read that 5 catches, 50 yards, 3 carries and 6 yards, kind of reminded me of like, a James White type of role. And, dude, if Rachaad White can carve something like that out, I think he'd be really happy with that. And, like Fournette's not super young and his snap share dipped to, about 60% this week. And, you got to have a couple of running backs to carry the load. And, there's a reason they took him to, 3rd round this year. And yeah, dude, I'm pretty high on Rachaad White moving forward this year.
Yeah, definitely a good pick. I think I have him stashed on a bunch of my benches and taxi squads in numerous leagues. I really like his upside this year for sure. Or not even if it's not this year. His long-term outlook is great as well in Dynasty.
Yeah, agreed.
So hopefully you guys like our breakouts to watch segment, and going forward, we'll look to try to incorporate this. Maybe not every week, but at least occasionally.
And we ask that if you start these breakout candidates and they absolutely drop a clunker, just remember that Matthew's the one that actually gives me what my pick for the week is going to be. So you can blame Matthew.
Okay. Well, we'll take that one back. Just also keep in mind that if the next week you bench them and then they go off, that we were right all along. So this is not always just a 1-week thing. Just keep it in mind.
Very well done, Matt. Very well done.
That brings us to the final section of the podcast today, which is our power rankings. I'll be honest with you guys. I may have messed up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I have this awesome template that I enter the information in, and it updates the power rankings. Except that I did forget that you have to click this one final button at the end that changes the week that you're on. And so I've been just looking at week 1 all along, even though I've been updating new information with week 2, week 3 results and projections and win totals and all of that. And so it hasn't been updating, except for when I started changing around the percentages of how certain things are weighed versus other things. That's what swapped people around. So great news is we actually have some big power ranking changes this week. So we'll start at the bottom with one thing that has remained consistent all the way through, which is that the very bottom of the league in the power rankings for this season is table humping trash, coming in at number 12. But then coming in all the way down at number 11. And actually, this previously was a spot owned by Trevor's SKOL squad. It's now been taken over by Team Goni 1, aka Team Joni 1, depending on how you want to say it. And they've taken over that number 11 spot this year. So absolutely looking like maybe a top 2 pick at the end of the season if they don't turn things around. Then we have going up here at number 10, Team Topodimo, aka Big Cheese Fire. They are sitting in now at number 10 when previously team Big Cheese Fire was sitting at ranked 6th overall. So a big move down in the wrong direction for Terrell. Now coming in at number 9, we have the Love Boat Incident. So the Love Boat Incident actually was previously at number 5 overall after a couple of losses, now been moved down to number 9. Then we have coming in at number 8. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Number 9 was actually Trevor's SKOL Squad. I can't read. Trevor moved all the way up from 11 up to 9, breaking in the top 10. Number 8 is the Love Boat Incident, down from number 5 to number 8. Then we have number 7 is Aaron Rodgers on Shrooms. This is another positive move for him. Aaron Rodgers on Shrooms was previously, let's see here. It's on my other page. He was previously ranked 10th and has now moved all the way up to 7. So nice positive movement there. Number 6 overall, we have, I can't read, Chris Rock's Jaw. Oh,
Yes,
number 6. The mighty have fallen. That is a
mighty have went up. What do you mean, dude? The last 14 weeks I've been at the same freaking score at number 9. So
yeah, no, definitely moving up in the positive direction. Almost top 5 now, baby. Let's go.
sure.
So number 5, we actually do have myself, one TYREE kill, not where I want to be at, but still top 5. I moved from number 4 in the last rankings down to number 5. Then number 4, we got Team SEDINPOWER moving all the way up from 7 to 4, cracking the top 4 spots. So big movements there. Then number 3, we got TUA'S Kung Fu Grip, which is a huge movement, 5 spots up from number 8. Last time it was updated, that used to be Tommy Lee's Raging Dongers. I thought I wasn't going to get to say it one more time, but I had to sneak it in there.
It was funny. That's the last time you're going to say it. And that's the first time I think you've said it without messing it up. So congrats. RIP that word.
Appreciate it. Finally get it right. And then, of course, it goes away. Number 2, we actually have a new champion. And so our previous number 1, which was SAQUAN DEEZ, has dropped down to number 2 in the power rankings, still top 2, but has dropped down and has been overtaken by Modern Welfare 3. Oh my gosh. Darius, great job moving up to number 1 in the power rankings. And I got to say, up from, you were at just number 2 before. So you guys just flip-flopped, but still positive, moving up, taking over number 1 spot. And congrats on that. So that's the power rankings, guys, for going into week 5 now. And excited to now be able to have accurate power rankings moving forward. Isiah, you got anything else you want to add?
What's your Patriots prediction of the week, Matthew?
Well,
dude, I don't even. Who are we playing?
Is it bad that I honestly don't even know? Let me take a look.
Oh my! Is the Jet? No.
Oh, bro, we're playing in the Lions.
Oh, it's right in New England.
Yeah. It's a 1:00 game. So I don't know. I know that quarterback situation, not great. Their offense has been fantastic. I'm honestly taking the Lions. I think that it will be a high scoring game. And I think that if you have a Patriots running back, you need to start them because the Lions cannot stop anyone from running the ball. And we have a bunch of options with Stevenson and Harris. I think they're both going to have great games. Probably I think last year there was a couple of games when they both put up 20+ points. I could see that happening again today or this week, I should say. So I think it'll be a good game for fantasy for the Patriots running backs, bad game for the Patriots in general. And I think they're going to get eventually blown out, but at least with a high scoring game. So that is our prediction of the week for the Patriots. What's your Red Sox prediction for tomorrow?
Not to make the playoffs, probably. Now, if I was a betting man, probably put a couple bucks down on that happening, but I'm not a betting man. So,
well, Thanks again, everyone, for joining us all the way through to the end. Once again, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at That Dynasty Pod or on TikTok for some exclusive content we're dropping on there, as well as on Apple or Spotify podcasts if you like to listen on the go. Appreciate all your support. And if you guys have any questions, starter sit decisions, anything that needs assistance, hit us up on Twitter for those questions throughout the week. In the meantime, on behalf of That Dynasty Pod and my co-host Isaiah, have a great rest of the day.
And don't forget, start Kyle Pitts, folks. Start Kyle.